What does a happy life actually look like? And if you've spent your whole life waiting for it, would you even recognize it if it were right in front of you? Everyone wants the secret. They look at someone who's 102 years old and they assume it's olive oil, a glass of wine, a morning walk around the block. And yes, do those things fine, but that's not why his eyes are still clear, why his voice still laughs, why after everything he's lost, he still wakes up grateful. The real secret isn't something you buy, it isn't something you eat. And it definitely isn't something life gives you automatically. It's something most people never learn because they spend their entire lives waiting for the right job, the right person, the right moment when everything finally feels safe enough to be happy. And many of them die waiting. So come closer, stay with me, because this isn't a feel-good story. It's a truth that makes people uncomfortable, especially the third lesson. That one forces you to look at how much of your life you've postponed. And why? Here's the truth. Joy isn't something that happens to you. Joy is something you decide. Lesson 1. Hard times don't have to make you hard. Pain is real. Let's start there, because pretending otherwise is how people lose themselves. Loss hurts. Shock hurts. Watching everything you built collapse in front of you hurts. But what pain turns you into? That part is a choice. Hard times don't just wound you, they shape you. And if you're not conscious, they shape you in the darkest ways. They can make you sharp, reactive, cruel without meaning to be. They can make you numb so nothing touches you anymore, bitter so every kindness feels suspicious, closed so even love feels like a threat. Or they can make you awake, because suffering does something brutal and honest. It strips away the illusion that life is fair, that effort guarantees safety, that love protects you from loss. And when those illusions die, something else is born, but only if you choose it. As Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel was a quiet man, a good man, a father of 2, married for 12 years. After his wife died, suddenly, violently, without warning, he didn't become wise overnight. He became angry. For months, he moved like a ghost through his own house. He answered questions with silence. He snapped when his kids laughed too loud. He stared through them when they cried. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. His grief had nowhere to go, so it turned outward. And slowly, without realizing it, he became someone else, someone louder, harsher, unrecognizable. His children started to fear him. And that's the part nobody talks about. Pain doesn't stay contained. It leaks into your voice, your posture, your reactions. Unprocessed grief doesn't make you strong. It makes you dangerous to yourself and to the people who love you. And then came the moment that changed everything. One night, his daughter, 5 years old, stood in front of him crying. And she asked a question that cut deeper than the loss itself. "Papa, why are you so mad? Did I do something wrong?" In that moment, his pain had a mirror, and he saw the truth. He wasn't just a grieving husband anymore. He was becoming the kind of man his children were afraid of. That's when the choice appeared. Not between happiness and sadness. That's a lie. The real choice was this: he could let pain turn him into someone smaller, or he could let it wake him up. He said to himself, "I can be angry, or I can be a father. I can't be both." That's lesson 1. Hard times will come, they always do, but they don't get to decide who you become. They don't get to make you hard, unless you hand them that power. Pain is unavoidable, but becoming cruel, numb, closed, that part is optional, and most people never realize they had a choice at all. Lesson 2. Stop caring what people think. Here's what most people never realize. Other people's opinions don't actually hurt you. They can't. What hurts you is believing them, letting them decide how much joy you're allowed to have, how visible you're allowed to be, how alive you're allowed to feel. Most people shrink their lives to stay acceptable. They trade truth for approval, love for comfort, joy for belonging, and then they wonder why they feel empty. At some point, hopefully before 70, you have to decide, are you going to live under other people's eyes or finally live your own life? Because judgment only has power when you kneel to it. And the moment you stop caring what people think, life gets very quiet and very free. Let me tell you about David. He's in his late 70s, retired, and for a long time his days have blended into each other. Not dramatic loneliness, just the quiet kind. The kind where weeks pass without anyone asking how you're really doing. One afternoon, he forces himself to go to a community dinner. Not because he expects anything to change, just because staying home feels heavier than making the effort. He sits near the edge of the room, plate on his lap, eyes drifting. And across the room, he sees a woman laughing. Her whole face lights up. Her name is Gloria. She's 62. She's a retired nurse. She's black. She's sitting with a small group, laughing freely, like she hasn't learned to apologize for joy. And in that instant, something in him wakes up that's been quiet for decades, like a part of him remembers what it feels like to be fully present. They talk later about ordinary things, old music, weather, books they never finished. Nothing impressive happens. But when he goes home that night, the house feels different, less heavy. They start meeting once a week, coffee, walks, long conversations that don't rush toward conclusions. Slowly they fall in love. And that's when the real test begins. The neighborhood talks, whispers, looks, and then his son stops speaking to him for 2 years. 2 years of silence. His son tells him he's disrespecting his mother's memory, that people are talking, that this looks wrong. And this is where most people fold, because being judged by strangers hurts. But being judged by your own family can break you. But he doesn't fold. He tells his son the truth, not defensively, not angrily, just clearly. I love you, but I spent 30 years alone. I'm 70 years old, and I found someone who makes me laugh. If the neighborhood doesn't like it, the neighborhood can go to hell. That's not rebellion, that's self-respect. Carl Jung wrote that the second half of life asks us to withdraw projections, to stop looking outside ourselves for completion. Old age humiliates the need to impress. It humiliates it because the cost becomes too high. You can't keep proving yourself forever. You can't keep auditioning for love. You can't keep editing your truth so other people stay comfortable. And honestly, you shouldn't have to. There is a peace that arrives when you stop explaining, when you stop defending, when you stop trying to be understood by people who aren't even being honest with themselves. And I know some of you feel that guilt already. You think, if I disappoint them, I'll be alone. But if being accepted requires you to betray yourself, you were already alone. You were just surrounded. So I want to ask you a question that might hit you in the chest. What opinion are you still trying to outrun? Your family's, your community's, your children's, or the harshest one of all, your younger selves, the one who thought life had to look a certain way to be worth living? Because the moment you stop living for their eyes, you finally come home to your own. Lesson 3. Happiness is not at the end. This is the lesson people nod at, but almost nobody lives. Because deep down, most of us are still bargaining with life. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when the money's right, when the chaos settles, when I'm loved the way I want to be loved, when I reach the version of life I've been chasing in my head. And then we wake up 10 years later, still waiting. Happiness isn't sitting at the finish line like a trophy. It's not waiting for you when you finally arrive. Because life doesn't have one final arrival. It has seasons, it has loss, it has interruptions, it has endings you didn't vote for. So if your joy is dependent on everything going right, you're going to starve. Here's the line that changes everything if you let it. Happiness isn't waiting for you at the finish line. It's sitting quietly inside your ordinary life until you finally see it. It's coffee in the morning, not fancy, just hot, just there. The light coming through the window, the way it lands on the wall and reminds you the day has started whether you rush or not. Your great-granddaughter calling every Sunday, she tells you about school like it's the most important thing in the world. And for those few minutes, it is. The taste of good bread, real bread, the kind you don't eat while distracted, the kind you actually notice, Italian music playing softly in the background. Not loud, not impressive, just enough to make the room feel lived in. A warm bed at night, not because life is perfect, but because rest is still allowed. And sometimes, a stranger who smiles at you on the street. No conversation, no history. Just a moment of recognition that says, I see you. And when you hear that, something inside you softens, because maybe happiness was never supposed to be loud or impressive or visible to other people. Maybe it was always meant to be quiet enough that you had to slow down to notice it. That's the real shift, when you stop asking life to prove itself to you and start letting yourself receive what's already here. Nothing dramatic changes, but something deep settles. And for the first time in a long time, you don't feel like you're missing your life. When this ends tonight, don't scroll, don't jump to the next distraction. Just sit for a moment. Look around the room you're in and find 3 things you're grateful for. Not the big impressive ones, not the things you think you should be grateful for. The small ones, the way your dog looks at you like you're the entire world, the sound of your child laughing from another room, the fact that you can breathe without thinking about it. Start there. Because gratitude isn't a personality trait. It's not something you're born with or without. It's a muscle. And like every muscle, it gets stronger only when you use it. If you never train it, your mind will default to scanning for danger, for loss, for what's missing. That's not because you're broken, that's just how the human brain survives. But when you practice gratitude intentionally daily, you teach your nervous system a new pattern. You tell it, I am safe right now. I am here. This moment is enough. And no, this won't erase your pain. That's not the goal. The goal is to stop pain from becoming the only thing you see. So tonight, write down 3 small things. And if you feel like sharing, put them in the comments. Not the impressive ones, the real ones, because you never know who's reading. And realizing they're not alone in noticing the same quiet, ordinary miracles. Remember, you choose joy. Not because life is kind, but because misery is a waste of whatever time you have left. Pain will come whether you invite it or not. Loss will find you eventually. But joy? Joy is a decision you make in spite of all that. And as long as you're still here, as long as you can still choose, you haven't missed your chance. Not today.